So today I'm going to be showing you how to make a potato gun that includes a handle with an electric igniter to make it more awesomer. So here's my potato gun. It has a 2-inch diameter blast chamber and a 2-inch cleanout plug, and it has an adapter to go from 2 inches to 1.5 inch, and I couldn't find an adapter that went from 1.5 inch to 1/2 inch because that's the diameter of this barrel. So I had to 3D print a adapter that went from 1.5 inch to 1/2 inch to put this barrel in, and it hasn't blown up yet. Quick lesson on why you don't do shoddy wiring jobs. My fuse went on my 3D printer and I was wondering why. Turns out because I had attached a switch to it earlier and I did a crappy wiring job. I did not solder the connections, and somehow along the line it shorted, and so it shorted past the fuse. The fuse blew. I had to cut it out because it had caught on fire and melted, or if it didn't catch on fire, it got really hot and melted. Here is the fuse casing. Very bad. And here's the fuse, or what's left of it. So make sure you solder your connections and put enough electrical tape or heat shrink around it that it doesn't short. So here are my two pistol grip designs. This one on the left is my first iteration, but the corners are too sharp after you use it for a while, so I ended up making the second iteration with the rounded corners. I also added a hole right here so that you can install the electric lighter easier. This is all the electronics you'll need for this build. All it is just an electric lighter. I bought this one on Amazon, and this is literally it, except for maybe a button. Where did I put the button? I need that button. I can't believe, oh, it's right here, in plain sight. And you also need a button. Okay, so what I'm doing now is stripping these gray wires. These gray wires are the ones that will create the sparks inside of the blast chamber that will create the big boom. This I do not recommend hot gluing directly onto the battery, but I did it anyways because, I don't know, I just did it anyways. Now I'm putting it inside of the gun, and I'm going to put even though you can't see it, I'm going to put the gray wires out to the side of the gun so that they can go up around on the side of the blast chamber in a minute. And then I spend the next 5 minutes trying to get rid of one piece of support that I forgot about. And then finally, I get it out and I put the red and black wires through the front right there. Okay, so this is my bad soldering job. I just put a little bit of solder on each of the wires and then grab my tiny little button and then just solder the wires to it. I mean, there's not really much to it other than I'm just not that good at soldering. So these little knobs right here, big knobs, is hot glue covering screws, and the reason I put hot glue over it is because it'll be connected to the electric igniter, and you don't want to shock yourself whenever you're lighting the gases inside this chamber. And I don't know if you can see that in the center there, but there are two screws almost touching, and there will be an arc in between those two screws that will create the spark and will create the explosion inside of this chamber. Okay, so now what I'm doing is wiring up the electric igniter to the screws that are already drilled into the blast chamber of the PVC, and I'm just soldering them and using heat shrink to cover up the exposed leads so that you don't shock yourself. And I also use the soldering iron to shrink the heat shrink because, you know, it's hot. And I just do the same thing to the other side. Okay, so here I have all the stuff that you need to shoot my gun. There is the propellant to make it go boom. Here is a projectile that I made that I will include a link to in the description. And here's a ramrod to push the projectile down to the back of the barrel. So the first thing you need to do is just unscrew this. And then fill it less than half a second full of propellant. Just like that. Also make sure the electric igniter is on. And then just load the projectile in like that, and then just ram it down. Just like that. And then it's dark, but I'm going to go ahead and shoot this because I'm impatient, and I'm going to go ahead and make this video. It broke the projectile in half. So that's going to do it for this video. I did make a display. I'm thinking about adding it just to make it look cooler. I don't know its exact purpose. I'm also probably going to paint this again. I painted it once for the old grip that I had on it, but I put a new grip on it, and I like it much better, so I'll probably do that as well. And that will probably be my next video along with maybe the display as well, probably in like a month. Bye.